All right, so let's go ahead and get started. You know what I'm wanting to ask you guys at this particular session is to kind of do some introspection. I'm going to ask you to be honest with yourself, to make sure you're being honest with yourself, and that you're not cheating yourself. And so we're going to talk about using our market replay, or what they now call in NinjaTrader 8 the playback utility. Still haven't got a good answer on why they renamed that, because they still use market replay data for the playback utility. So it just added some layer of confusion, but it's now called playback. Playback, or back in NinjaTrader 7, actually NinjaTrader 6.5 is where I discovered the market replay utility. At the time, I was using TradeStation platform and struggling. And I had looked at NinjaTrader, but I thought, I'm not going to, I have too many other things that I'm trying to learn how to do, basically trading. I've reached a level of comfort with using TradeStation, and so I'm going to just continue to use TradeStation. But you know how you do when in trading, you're always looking around at new and different things, because you're most of us approaching trading more like a hobby, right? And we just want to see what's new and interesting and fun and exciting out there that we don't know about. So I was probably doing something like that, and I looked at NinjaTrader again, and I found out about the market replay utility. Well, I found out about that right about the time that I had the aha that I should be approaching trading the same way that I approach anything else in life that I've ever gotten good at. And that was that experience and practice were the things that made me good at anything I was ever good at. Most of us are not born ready to be professional anything. So we have to work at it. We have to do the hard work, and then we have to continue to do the hard work the way all professionals do at any profession. Okay? So I had been approaching trading. I realized, although I may not have realized it in this context, but I realized that I was approaching trading like a hobbyist. It was something that I was just hoping was going to end up being, something I could generate an income at. But I wasn't actually doing anything to make that happen, meaning I was doing the same thing that most people do, and that is that I would sit all day long watching the live markets, one tick at a time, hoping that there would be a trade setup that I could practice. And so I might sit for 8 hours or more waiting for a few potential trade setups throughout the entire day. Very, very slow. And the problem is even during those potential trade setups, I may or may not manage my emotions during that particular trade, or I may or may not have read all the indicators right onto whether I should or shouldn't even enter the trade or how to manage the trade or whatever. There was a good chance that I'd wait 4 hours and then I would make allowances for getting into a trade. Um, I would make excuses, even though it wasn't part of the rules. I would say, well, I'm just going to try this to see what happens. Or, um, you know, by golly, I'm a trader and traders trade. And if I'm not trading, I'm not a trader and I want to be a trader. So I got to start putting on trades and I see prices moving. So that means other people are putting on trades. What do they know that I don't know? Well, they're not smarter than me, by golly. I'm jumping in here with them with no idea what I was doing or why I was doing it or anything. You sit quietly by yourself, sim trading for hours at a time. You play all kinds of mind games with yourself. You can talk yourself in and out of all kinds of things because you have so much time to think, and it's quiet, and you're alone, and you have nobody to bounce these things off of. So I came to the conclusion that I was a hobbyist. I was not practicing, but I didn't really know, I wasn't, gaining more experience away from the live data, away from, like in the evenings. The only thing I could do in the evenings was scan static charts and look at the static charts to try to find areas where price did something specific that I could identify as a good area to maybe take a trade during live trading. Okay, when the charts are actually moving. We all know how that generally works out, right? You see all kinds of great opportunities on static charts, and it just doesn't seem to pan out on live trading. Take people who try to trade double tops. They look so compelling on static charts, but how many of us have gotten beat to death trying to trade double tops? Which is actually just what you're assuming is going to be because price got pushed back in one area earlier on. It's going to get pushed back in that area again. So you're assuming that there's some sort of area of support resistance at that particular point. Because you don't know, you're just guessing. And when trading live, it generally doesn't happen the way you think it's going to because of what you've identified on these static charts. So I didn't have anything else to do but look at static charts. And then suddenly I find NinjaTrader, at the time 6.5 or 6, I can't remember. But they had the market replay utility. That was a huge aha for me. Huge. The piece of that particular puzzle fell into place for me. And that's when I officially switched to NinjaTrader versus TradeStation, which I was comfortable with TradeStation, but I always hated. I don't like the company. I don't like their pricing. I don't like their support. I don't like their programming of their platform. I don't like anything really much about TradeStation, but I did feel more. I felt comfortable with what I had. So I moved over to NinjaTrader because of market replay. Now, why was that so important? I was able to obviously use market replay to gain experience that so much more quickly, to try trade setups, to identify areas of opportunity so much more quickly than I could with static charts or that I could with sitting and watching the uh, the live data. So this became huge for me, and I immediately, within just a few weeks, noticed a difference. I was taking better trades. I was more confident. I was managing the trades better. Uh, just all that experience that you need, because this is a participatory type activity. You know, this is a competition. You are competing with other traders. All right. Now, for those of you that are our VIPs and Einsteins that have been here for a while, you know how often I talk about market replay and playback and how important it is to our trading. I talk about it a lot, and it's a regular part of our program. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm talking to you. I'm going to suggest that you don't do it as regularly or as often as you should. You will put off using market replay until you just don't have anything else that needs to be done. That your list of priorities, whether it's trading, work, family, home, whatever, until all of that is taken care of, and then maybe you'll practice your trades. Okay? Now, you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, he's talking to me. And I also know that what's going through your mind and why you're not doing it. You may, most of you probably say, okay, I tried it, but this NinjaTrader 8 playback utility, it's just too frustrating. I can't get it to work right. And my answer to that is tough. Suck it up. It's what we have, and it's what you need to use. You know, we'll see what we can do about making it better. I am, by the way, in touch with the guys at Ninja, and they've expressed to me finally that they're open to a discussion about the frustrations with the playback utility. So we'll more on that later. You probably think I don't have time, or it's too boring, or I don't know how, or, you know, it's not important because it's just not real. You know, so this practicing, it's just not real. It's just no fun. If you have any of these ideas in your head, I want you to, again, with a little introspection, I want you to decide how it is that you're approaching trading. Are you approaching it the way a professional would approach a profession? Or are you approaching it like a hobbyist who knows they have another source of income and who is really only doing this in hopes of making some extra money, or maybe falling into it without having to work too hard? Okay? So that's a discussion for another time. How to identify if you're somebody who wants to be a professional trader or somebody who is a hobbyist with unrealistic expectations. Okay? A lot of you drift away from doing it. You started out doing it a lot, and then you kind of drift away because progress is pretty slow, or slower than you'd like. For example, you know, a lot of us do this, especially this time of year. We decide, you know, 1st of January, we're going to, by golly, I'm going to get this old body of mine in shape. And I'm going to go join a gym. Okay. So we get this rush from joining the gym. And we feel like I just did something good for myself. I joined a gym. And then we probably go a few times, but we always start finding other things to do. And why do we do that? We do that because the results come so slowly and over a long period of time. We rationalize, well, if I just miss today, it's not going to matter that much, right? I have these other things to do. I'm just gonna skip it today, and I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and then you got the same thing, right? Well, it's only I would even if I did go to the gym today, I'm only gonna get a little tiny bit better. So much so, it's such a tiny amount. I'm just not gonna bother today. I'll go tomorrow. Okay, I'd rather go out to dinner than go to the gym. I'd rather watch my favorite TV show. I'm tired. My back hurts. I'm sick. I have to pick up the kids. All this stuff that, you can come up with all kinds of excuses. And this is how, and this is why so many of us start diets or start, workout programs, and then we ultimately fail because the progress is painfully slow. We want things to be so much faster. And this is the problem many of us have with using Market Replay. It's practice. It's hard work. It's grunt work. It's no fun, but it's essential to being a professional and to being somebody who can consistently generate an income from trading. Okay? So when I was playing football, we were taught the basics on the very first day of practice, right? And then we did those every single day in practice. The same thing. Now, why did we do this? Did we do this because the coaches didn't feel like we understood or that we're good enough, that we were good enough at these basic exercises or basic whatever it was that we were doing? We did it because this is how we learn things. We learn by rote, okay, by muscle memory, to the point where we become unconsciously competent at whatever it is that we're practicing over and over and over and over again. Okay, you can do it without even thinking about it. That's how important trading using the playback utility is, and practicing your trading. Now, back to the frustration. There are times where we have perfect circumstances in our lives, and these girls happen to have a beautiful training facility to work in with a perfectly green flat floor and controlled environment where everything is controlled so they can get a quality practice time in, and there are no frustrations and there are no outside influences to keep them from being able to practice this perfect practice session. But life isn't like that all the time. We can't create these perfect environments. But if you want to get good at something or even have fun at something, you have to sometimes make do with what you have. These kids aren't thinking, well, I can't play soccer or football, or I can't practice because I don't have an indoor facility with a controlled environment, with a perfectly flat floor, with a coach standing by, and the best shoes that money can buy. They're making use of what they have. And I'm going to suggest to you to do the same thing. Quit being spoiled and saying, well, I just find it too frustrating, so I'm just not going to do it. Particularly for the NT8 playback. Yes, it's very frustrating. Nobody likes it. But it is the single most essential activity you will do away from the live trading that you can do to become a better trader. Okay, we already have an edge, right? We know our edge in our trade room. You don't have to go out and try to find an edge. We have an edge that's proven over and over and over again. Every day we do it in the trade room all the time, and you already know the edge. There's nothing out there to be researching, and you could go and you can research other systems and other trading and try to find something that's better. Sure, you can do that, but all you need is an edge, and we have an edge. We demonstrate that edge regularly. So now all you need to do is just practice that edge over and over and over again. So I'm going to give you a few tips so that you can refocus yourself on the practice. Okay, practice is essential. All right. When you hit your frustration level with the replay utility, make sure you only have the one workspace open that you're working in. Only one. All right, make sure all the other workspaces are closed. Make sure you have just one chart in that workspace to begin with. Okay, and open that chart and don't put any indicators on it. Okay, first I'm making sure, I'm assuming that you've downloaded the data that you need for the particular days that you're practicing. Okay. So you don't want to load a bunch of days on the chart. Okay, you don't want the chart to load many days. You just want to use the fewest periods that you can, so that it doesn't take a long time for the playback utility to try to calculate and figure out all those days. All right, you want to use just the fewest periods, just the fewest, if you're time based, the fewest days to fill that chart. Okay. After you've cleared everything, you've got one chart. You've gone to the day and time that you want to practice, and you hit play. Okay, and you hit play, and you wait and you watch. The chart should start moving if you loaded the right data for the particular instrument, day, and time that you're wanting to do it. Okay. So you want to identify that we have a moving chart. Okay, that means the data's working, the chart's working, the workspace is working. There's nothing else in the background that's trying to run off of that data. So you want to practice linearly, like from earliest part of the day to the latest part of the day. All right, you don't want to bounce around and go from, oh, this one was a good one, I'm going to do this one that was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this one that was at noon, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this one that was at 2 o'clock, and then I saw one at 9:45 I'm going to do. Don't jump around, because every time you back up to another time that you want to trade, the charts will go all the way back to midnight and then slowly step forward to that time. The more indicators you have on that chart, the slower it's going to be. So if you do that, if you are going to go to another time, take all the indicators off the chart, go to that time, price will go back to midnight and step forward much more quickly to that time. Then reload all the indicators. Really easy to do if you have them set up in a template, in a chart template. By the way, when you practice linearly, you you don't go to the next time you want to practice using the where'd it go? This guy. You know, you can right click on this and select a time. What you want to do is just increase the speed, so you just step forward to that time. Okay, if you right click it and select what time you want to go to, it's going to go all the way back to midnight and step forward. Okay. All right, download at least one day before and one day after your practice session so you can get all of the data. If your indicators happen to need data from yesterday, you'll have all of that data already loaded. And use the downloader in the EAS. All right, EAS has an integrated downloader in NinjaTrader, and you can download multiple days and multiple instruments on a single click, right? And download them all. Any questions about using replay? I had the opportunity because we have this new trade setup, and I've been working on it for a long time. I've had the opportunity to use the replay utility a lot in the last couple of months. I still use it almost daily for practice, but when I'm developing a new trade setup or a new indicator, I spend a lot of time with live data. Live meaning that it's moving data. The charts are moving, the bars are moving up and down, ticks are coming in. I never develop indicators or trade setups using static charts. You can't. Most of you have tried that and it doesn't work, right? So you develop it with live data streaming. And so a lot of the trade setups, or all of the trade setups I've developed and all the indicators I've developed have been developed using Market Replay or the playback utility. So are there any questions? Anybody got any questions? Anybody want to confess? Anybody feel invigorated and reignited to start their practice sessions again? I see someone typing. Marcos, that is in another session. We'll do that another time. If you go into the fast forward program in the members area, there's a whole video on it. All right, good. Everybody go practice. Use playback. Yes, it's not fun, but that's what it's going to take. If you really want to get good at this, if you're not that committed to it and you just want to approach it like a hobby, or don't worry about it. You know, just adjust your expectations. That's all. All right, everybody have a good one. We'll see you.